Welcome back, everyone. Is Charlie Warner Brothers announced plans to reboot the Harry Potter movies with a totally new cast in the next several years, and there have been lots of reports about them doing a separate big TV series on HBO Max, so we'll break it all down. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There's a bunch of big trailers coming soon. We've got a new Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer video coming tomorrow, too. Of course, I will do videos for everything. You've probably been seeing news about this Harry Potter reboot in your feeds recently. Supposedly, leakers inside the studio revealed their larger plans to basically start over from scratch because of everything that's happened with the franchise, like the Harry Potter franchise in general, in their current run of spin-off movies, the Fantastic Beasts movies. Right now, as of the end of Fantastic Beasts: Secrets of Dumbledore the last couple of years, the studio says it has no more Fantastic Beasts movies or movies of any kind that are currently in development. Like, the movies have basically stalled out, and they were meant to be this huge cash cow for Warner Brothers. They made so much money on the original Harry Potter franchise. Now, this could always change. Like, they could always make that next Fantastic Beasts movie, because originally they were supposed to have committed to 5 of them. But either through a combination of people just losing interest in the Fantastic Beasts line of characters, and the movie is earning progressively less and less money, and all the drama with Johnny Depp, Ezra Miller, and J.K. Rowling, each on their own, each having separate PR nightmares.
My name is Ezra Miller, and I am criminally excited to be a part of the Justice League.
In all the buyout issues with Warner Brothers Discovery and a lot of the Warner Brothers people getting fired and new people getting hired on, it just seems like a lot of the new people that are coming in now to work on this Harry Potter franchise are getting ready to throw in the towel. Just all the chaos from all these different fronts and earning progressively less and less money with the spin-off movies. They're just ready to pull a James Gunn like he's doing with the DC movies and just completely wipe the slate clean.
What a week, huh?
Lemon, it's Wednesday.
Before all the buyout nonsense with Warner Brothers Discovery, they seemed like they were going to pull a Star Wars short-term and just shift their short-term efforts to the next few years on developing a solid TV series set on another group of characters. I did a video about this a couple years ago. At the time, my top picks were a Marauders series or like a Cursed Child series that would allow cameos from the original, now older actors with the current timeline still making sense. Like them trying to do more core characters or characters that are closer to the big ones in the original novels if they do jump to a different part of the timeline. There's a ton of other stories inside the larger Harry Potter Wizarding World universe that would make for a solid TV series. It's a little bit easier to get away with stuff like that with TV series than it is with movies. And that could still happen. They could still be working on that TV series. The whole Discovery merger probably just slowed down things a little bit. Even George R.R. Martin said that Game of Thrones was feeling the penny pinching, like the money issues with this big merger, that previously they had about 9 spin-offs, prequels, sequels for Game of Thrones that they were working on, which includes House of the Dragon, which they're currently running episodes for. Like, I just did a bunch of House of the Dragon Season 1 episodes. And because of the merger, they had to get rid of a couple of those spin-offs, the prequels that they were working on, but they still have a bunch of them that they're working on. So the same thing is happening for all of Warner Brothers. Like, anything that they own or work on has just been slowed down just like a little bit. But because of all this chaos, the people who are left still working at the studio that haven't been fired yet are now doubling down on their most profitable IP, which includes the original Harry Potter movies. Which is why you're probably hearing more talk from inside the belly of the beast about them rebooting those original movies. They think doing that will ultimately be more profitable than doing lesser separate characters like Fantastic Beasts. And they're probably not totally wrong about that. I enjoyed the first Fantastic Beasts movie, but I wasn't in love with the characters. I didn't like them the same way that I enjoyed the original characters. Also, the writing is a big issue too. The writing on the original movies felt just way better because they had all that book material to adapt. In fact, there was so much book material, they had to cut out a lot of it. There were a lot of complaints when the original movies came out. It's just that Twitter didn't exist till after the first couple of movies had come out. If social media had been a bigger thing when the first couple movies came out, there would have been way more people yelling about Harry Potter. Mostly about all the book stuff that they had to cut out to fit the movies into 2.5 hour runs. But the idea was that because they had so much stuff to adapt, it just made for much better, much stronger scripts for the movies. Which is a very Game of Thrones specific type of problem. Like, the first couple of seasons of Game of Thrones feel way stronger because they're adapting direct book material until we get to about season 6 where they run out of book material and it starts to be more original material, which is why people say season 6, season 7, season 8 of Game of Thrones were way weaker than the previous seasons. And even though the original books were fantastic, it took years to finish those, and way more time went into them than was given to the writing of the Fantastic Beasts movie. And just in general, J.K. Rowling was given way more authority in writing the Fantastic Beasts movie, whereas she was not during the original Harry Potter films. I believe part of her deal gave her some veto powers on the original movies, but because she was so much less influential within the studio at the time that the original movies were being made, it was much easier for the studio to bring in really experienced writers to work on those with her, and when it came to Fantastic Beasts, she had way more power and way more authority, and it seems like most of the movies were actually written by her. And most of her experience is in book writing, not in film and TV writing, so that's why the Fantastic Beasts movies just feel a little bit weaker. No surprise, they aren't as good as the original movies. I'm not holding my breath right now for a full reboot like right away because, for instance, another Warner Brothers franchise of movies, Lord of the Rings, just a little bit older than the Harry Potter films, a little bit of overlap with the first few ones, but Warner Brothers has not attempted to reboot those films. Mostly because of rights issues, I think, but also because the originals were so good and so successful. Why would you reboot something so quickly if the movies were so good? You'd be cannibalizing a lot of your sales and a lot of your fans of those original movies. I just did videos for the Amazon Lord of the Rings TV series set during a completely different part of the timeline in the Second Age. Even Amazon, though, with their piles and piles of money, had trouble securing the rights for the book material that covers the era of the timeline that they're covering. So just in general, that franchise, Lord of the Rings franchise, is kind of a rights nightmare. The reason why you're probably hearing news of Harry Potter reboot plans and them not pulling a Star Wars, pivoting exclusive to TV for a short period, or jumping to a total different part of the timeline like Lord of the Rings, is because there are no rights issues with the Harry Potter franchise. They own pretty much everything exclusively, although I do believe that part of their deal with J.K. Rowling makes it so that she does have a huge say in whatever they do wind up doing with it. And like I said, because of all the chaos on all different fronts all over the place within Warner Brothers right now, you have a lot of new people coming in who are probably just wanting to pull a James Gunn and wipe the slate clean. They just think it's easier to just start completely fresh. Kind of like them pulling a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man to Andrew Garfield Spider-Man to Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man. If they do go for full-on reboot, I can't wait for all the Harry Potter into the Potterverse jokes where they can pull their own version of the multiverse meme. Harry number 1, Harry number 2, and Harry number 3. Probably their safest bet, though, right now would be to focus on stories and characters who are much closer to the ones from the original books. Outside of a full reboot, some of the best things that they could do would be to just move the timeline forward a little bit and do like a young Voldemort series. They could do like a Cursed Child movie, but the problem with that is it would feel like a little bit more of a one-off, and it's kind of a weird situation because the whole idea with the stage play is that all the characters were played by completely different people. Like it was a very wildly different casting for the same core characters. And it would be a little too weird to do that in the movies. Like, you need the same actors coming back to play the characters, play the older versions of the characters. And right now, one of the big issues that they've had with doing mainline movies just set forward in the timeline is that like half of the core actors don't want to come back and half of them do. And how do you do a mainline movie set in the future without like your most important characters like Harry Potter himself? Best example, Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson both said repeatedly that they have no desire to come back, and it's not a money thing, like they have more money that they can spend in their entire life. The only reason they came back recently was for the Return to Hogwarts special, and that's because it wasn't an actual episode or a movie. It was just the actors coming together to talk about how much fun they had making the original movies and all their memories from it. Make no mistake though, they still got paid a ton of money to do that. Would you like a giant bag of money to come chat with your friends about all the fun you had a couple years ago? Yes, I will take that money. As far as I know, Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Thompson, like the other mainline Harry Potter actors, seem relatively copacetic with the idea of them rebooting eventually. I think the question is just how long they're going to wait before they actually do something like that. Right now, it just feels like it's a little too soon for them to do that. We all remember the trauma from the Spider-Man reboots. Like, doing with Harry Potter just is way different because there were so many of those movies and they were so successful, and it was kind of the opposite situation with the Spider-Man movies. Sony rebooted so many times because they felt like they had fizzled out completely. Personally, I think short term, they'd be better off just doing a large-scale, big-budget Game of Thrones level TV series for a few years set earlier on the timeline with core actors, like doing a Young Marauder series or a Young Voldemort series. They could do something like that as more of a Breaking Bad show with an anti-hero character descending into full-blown villainy, and at the end of the series just making his Horcruxes, then something like a short time jump at the end where he marks Harry Potter as the final Horcrux, and then if they want to after that, then reboot the movies. Also, doing a TV series short-term like the next couple of years gives them time to try something during a completely different part of the timeline, and if that does wind up being successful, continuing with that continuity. So everyone, let me know in the comments, what do you want them to do with the future of the Harry Potter franchise? Like, do they do a TV series short-term? Do they reboot the movies? Do they do a completely separate group of characters in a different part of the timeline? there's still a lot of options that they have open to them, and I'm not going to hold my breath on a reboot happening in the next year or two. Of course, I'll do more videos for it when we get more announcements, but leave all your questions in the comments below. And like I said, couple really big trailers coming next week. Make sure you enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everyone click here to learn about Jessica Jones coming back during Daredevil Born Again, and click here for my Game of Thrones Jon Snow sequel series video. Thank you so much for watching.